please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome all of our friends and neighbors and colleagues joining us in this regularly scheduled August 7th, 2023 City Council meeting. If you're a guest with us tonight, which would be to my right, to everyone else's left, there's a set of double doors. When you walk through those doors, there's a desk. On that desk, there's a sign-in sheet. If you're a guest, please sign in. City Clerk, can I have a roll call?
Yes. Councilman Palladino?
Here.
Pratt? Sharp?
Here.
Soha?
Present.
Stuchel?
Here.
Veer?
Here.
Wolfram?
Here.
Mayor Stockford?
Here.
And Councilperson Morrissey. You have two absent, Mayor.
Thank you, Katie. I have had correspondences with both Councilman Morrissey and Councilwoman Pratt, and they are occupied tonight, so they will not be with us. We'll move into approval of agenda items. I've got one change to make to the agenda, and that is correspondence with Potawatomi Hills to communications petitions, which would be item letter G. Are there any other changes, City Manager or members of council? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to add the Potawatomi Hills letter to the communications.
So moved. Second.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Veer, seconded by Councilman Palladino. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Do I have a motion to approve the amended agenda?
So moved. Support.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Sharp, seconded by Councilman Veer to approve the amended agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. We've got an agenda. We'll move into public comment on agenda items only. During this time, the podium will be open. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Please limit your trips to 1 to the podium. And please remember, this is public comment period on agenda items only. So to comment right now, it needs to be something that has a direct tie to something present on the agenda tonight. Podium's now open.
Hello, I'm back. This is Jennifer Weil, and my neighbors and friends from Potawatomi Hills and Winona Drive. Unfortunately, the follow-up letter I wrote in detail following the meeting of the 17th of July, you never received. Everybody else received them. I said even God probably received them, but nobody here received them. So I'm sorry, and we tried to print them out tonight and could not print them out. So what you have in hand is something from one of the neighbors. It's quite detailed, and you have my very quick attempt to run down what we talked about briefly before. And you'll see there that what we're asking for pertains solely to those things that the city can do something about, not to, God bless you, the issues of trespassing, even though there is a picture there of a trespasser at 5:30 or 6:30 in the morning who has been seen on the properties more than once, because that's our problem to solve, not yours. People coming onto private property from the city property after dark, however, that may be an arguable or moot issue, since they are entering the property of the city after the park is closed and causing trouble, like the shooting with the rubber bullet, of which you are all aware, which was not inconsequential. I mean, the young woman was hurt. And we're seeing this escalate when 50 to 75 people show up in a park, a public park, that is closed at 8 o'clock, and they're there from 8 o'clock until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, off and on, different parties coming and going. That ought to be of concern to the city. And so we're asking for a gate at the entrance of the park that is substantial, that can be locked at night when the park is closed, and open when the park is open again in the morning, or unlocked. And we're asking, if you can, for better lighting of the beach area, which seems reasonable. And many of us will put up with the overshot of light because it will light up the areas where people are hanging out. And we like hours for the park that are reasonable too. Closing at dusk, opening at dawn if you want to, but at least when it's light. And people who happen to be there and they're screaming at 10:30 at night will not be screaming if they can't get in. They will not be drag racing down the street. They won't be slamming doors. It's not going to solve every bit. People will always find ways of jumping over fences and so on, but they're not going to be driving in as easily and doing the various things that they do. And that's all I have to say. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Jennifer. Are there any more public comment on agenda items? Seeing none, we'll close the podium. Move into the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, we've got approval of bills, city and BPU claims of July 13th, payroll of July 20th, city council minutes of July 17th, finance minutes of July 17th, workforce housing development application revised fee schedule, Hillsdale Business Association summer in the city street closure, Hillsdale College freshman convocation, Hillsdale College homecoming right-of-way noise variance, Hillsdale College noise variance request, Sozo church parking lot closure request for a children's event, and then the July 2023 Board of Review minutes. Any discussion on any of the items in the consent agenda? Councilman Soha.
Thank you, Mayor. I just, on letter D, the housing development application revised fee schedule, I had two questions. The one was with Mrs. Stock's park rental. It has the wedding, and then it has all day structures, Islander Pavilion, grassy areas. And I was just curious why wedding is in there. And then the all day structures, which means when they put up tents, my understanding was that was $200, and this says it's $400. Did we increase that or not? I would like to know. And then I was just curious if these pertain to a wedding, then would there be others for other events, or is it all? It's just confusing to me. And then the other thing I would like to have, I don't know where we would consider adding or considering different fees, but I've noticed a number of food trucks in the city. I didn't see anywhere where they're accountable to the city for anything. And I don't think it's fair to our brick and mortar restaurants who are paying property taxes, who are paying all these other fees for goods and services, and then these food trucks can pull up to any parking lot anytime and just serve food. And the city has no oversight over that. I think we should just at least put it before a committee to consider doing something.
Thank you, Councilman. So, Dave, do you have an answer to any of those questions?
Yes, the fees that are in there, we can get clarification on them or on the particular item, but the fees that are in there have been approved by council through at the budget process, so they did go up. Some of them did go up, not all of them.
Is there a way to amend those or what committee would this go before to just reconsider?
I would say it would go to Public Service Committee.
Okay. Who's on public services up here? Okay. Okay. You want to call a meeting soon, Councilman Soha? Are you the chair?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'll get with you guys. Thank you.
And while you're calling a meeting for that, you might want to look at the food trucks. I don't know if public services would be the place to do that, or economic development, but I think that'd be a good place to look at maybe some policies regarding food trucks if that's something you guys are interested in.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I'm in favor of the food trucks coming in town, but I do want to make sure we do have something in place so we can monitor them or maybe a $25 fee, whatever it is, for the year or whatever, but definitely, because it doesn't hurt the other businesses, but then again, it's lunchtime and usually like the one down there by laundromat. That one's always, they're only there one day and they're very busy. And they do serve good food, but they also have to meet state guidelines too, they have to follow. So they do, to get their license, they have to follow the state guidelines, but we are seeing more and more, and you are correct on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Sharp.
I wanna make sure, I'm not opposed to them at all, I just, would like some oversight.
No, sounds good. Public services, I think that's entirely appropriate. Any more discussion on any of the items in the consent agenda?
I'll just add that I talked to a local business owner, and they said Jackson, Adrian, and local counties will charge 10% of sales. So it's actually a pretty substantial fee, and it's trying to offset what a brick and mortar business would pay in property taxes.
Okay. Sounds fair to me. Yeah, worth looking into. Any more discussion regarding the consent agenda? Alrighty, let's move on. Let's go to communications petitions.
I move to approve.
Oh, I'm sorry. Motion on the floor from Councilman Soha, seconded by Councilman Sharp to approve the consent agenda. Can I have a roll call, City Clerk?
Councilmember Sharp,
Yes.
Soha,
Yes.
Stuchel,
Yes.
Veer,
Yes.
Wolfram,
Yes.
Mayor Stockburn,
Yes.
Councilperson Palladino,
Yes.
7-0 approved.
Thank you, Katie. Alright, we'll move into communications petitions now. Item letter A, Hillsdale Senior Center Services. Do we have a representative from the Senior Center with us tonight?
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Good evening. Thank you for having me here. My name is Shane Spar. I'm the Health and Wellness Coordinator at the Senior Center. My primary role and responsibility at the center is to oversee a healthy and functioning gym down there, but I also oversee some lifelong learning and other events that happen down at the Senior Center. So tonight, my purpose for being here is to kind of highlight some of the things that maybe some of the council members aren't aware of. If you've not been down to see our gym, we have what I consider to be a world-class gym for older individuals. I work hand in hand with a lot of people in the healthcare industry. For instance, I work with Jake Newcomb, who works Omega Physical Therapy. I work with Mark Marshall, who's another physical therapist. I work with the Hillsdale Hospital. My experience primarily has been through the Air Force. I was an exercise physiologist before coming to the Senior Center, but returned home after service myself. And I love the Senior Center, and I just want to go on record as to say many of your constituents this past November approved a millage to support senior services. And I'm grateful. I think the seniors of Hillsdale County are very grateful, and wanted to just be on record as to saying our staff is grateful too. But some other things that happened at the Senior Center. I gave you all a packet of information there. Too lengthy tonight to go into details, but I just kind of want to highlight a few things that happened down at the center. I can think back as recently as early March, when we all know we went through the power outage here in the city. We fully stepped up and became an emergency shelter. Through a grant that we were given years ago, the Senior Center has a backup generator that powers the whole facility. It was a warming center for a while, almost 2 weeks, and we provided meals. We provided emergency showers, and we continue to do that with some of the homeless on a very small scale on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So that's another way in which we kind of do community outreach at the Senior Center, just above and beyond, I think, just addressing our seniors. So the other things that, if you'll allow me to kind of highlight here, in your packet, there's a couple of different reports, and you can dive into those later. And I also gave you my business card in case you have questions at a later time, if you get a chance to read through those. Two of the software packages that we use to track our units down there, one's entitled CareVantage. The other one is called Serve Tracker, and you just might see RE at the top. That stands for recreation. There's also a legend on the far right, the very back, that details some of the acronyms that are used in some of the reports. So that might give some clarifications to that at a later time. But what I really want to highlight tonight are the things that I see as an overwhelmingly popular program down there. The first of which is not my program, but I'm proud to be a part of it, is the congregate meals that happen down there on a daily basis, as well as our Meals on Wheels. Our Meals on Wheels supported a great number, and if you'll see, there's a page in there that's highlighted Hillsdale County Senior Services Center, and it's a service breakout for fiscal year 2022. And if you'll see on there, there's a middle column that shows the total number of units we serve just on home delivered meals in Hillsdale County alone, over 73,000. Over 73,000. Think about that for a minute. That's a lot of meals and a lot of miles driven to keep people at home, to keep them healthy, connected to their community. And I think that's what we do there, is to kind of live out that mission to keep people connected to Hillsdale County, keep them in their homes, and keep them happy and healthy. So the other thing that I'm very proud of too, that's kind of gone gangbusters since I've been on board, is the fitness center. Fitness center, we did over 18,000 units in that time period. So a unit is maybe an hour, is defined as an hour workout or a class. So our seniors are staying healthy. I like that. And they're staying there longer. I like that too. So I just want to highlight some of those are the two programs that I see. But other things I also want to highlight too, if you will, for me. There's a program that we're offering down there and have been for at least a year now. It's called the SAVE program. And SAVE is an acronym for Successful Aging Through Financial Empowerment. And that kind of falls in line with something that we're doing this Friday. This Friday we have an event. It's called Put Out the Fuse on Elder Abuse Expo. We have some experts in the field. How many of us have had those phone calls, those annoying phone calls, and asking us to, contribute, or your account's been hacked, we need your social security number. And for our elderly who are really vulnerable, we have an advocate down there that can help them either get their identity back, reclaim any kind of lost monetary value that they have. So that's another service that happens every day at the senior center that we're doing on behalf of the people of Hillsdale County. So if you have people that need medical equipment, we have durable medical equipment usage. People donate items, wheelchairs, walkers, commodes, things that, people that can't get out, but we want to keep them home. We have those for loan purposes down there. That's part of what falls under lifelong learning under my programs. So a lot of things happening. If you have folks that you represent that need help, send them down our way, okay? So with that, I'll leave this open to any kind of questions and answer session. And if you come across or think of a question later, I'll let my business card with everybody here. But thank you for support, the community. And on behalf of the Senior Center, thank you for allowing me to speak here tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Spar. Any questions for Mr. Spar? Appreciate you coming tonight, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to item B in communications petitions. It is the 8th annual Patriots Day fly-in. That will be Sunday, September 10th this year, 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. And this event gets bigger every year, except last year for some reason, but it's always very impressive. What happened last year? I don't remember. Oh, it got rained out, that's right. That's right. Anyways, awesome event, ton of great people helped to put it on, and it's definitely a community gem. Any discussion on that?
It says rain or shine.
It does say rain or shine. They still had it last year. It was just, yeah. I think some of the planes couldn't fly in is what happened. The main.
Breakfast, okay.
Yeah.
That was it.
All right. Item letter C, leaf collection dates are on here. October 30th through December 11th, 2023. There's a map of the wards. Looks like the first round is going to be October 30th in Ward 1, and then they'll do a second round on November 16th. So if you guys are interested, look at this map because it'll tell you. Hopefully we can stay on track with the dates. Any questions, discussions on this? Councilman Sharp.
Thank you for finally doing it the correct way instead of the 1st of October, better at the end of October, because most trees still have their leaves in it when you make your first round. So, thank you. I appreciate it, Jason.
Yeah, definitely appreciate you guys, Jason, and I think we'll get better at this every year. And I think this year's the year we just fall into a routine. And any more questions? Okay, we'll move on. Item D is BPU customer survey. BPU invites customers to take survey to provide feedback on satisfaction with utility programs and services. The survey is online, it went live August 1st, and you can also get paper copies at the city clerk's office. It says completed surveys will be accepted at BPU offices through September 15th. So if anybody is interested in doing this survey, it would be beneficial for us to get your feedback so we know the things that we're doing well and the things that we need to improve on. Any discussion on this item?
Just a quick comment, Mayor. The customers will also be receiving the survey in the mail with their August bill. So they will all be getting a paper copy. And if you get your bill electronically, you will receive an email with a link on it. We have been also sharing the link on our website, and I know, talking to Sam, we have over 30 already from just a link on the website.
Great, great. We need to hear it all, right? Any discussion on this? Oh.
Just have a back up on the brush collection. So we didn't sort of divide up that there's the leaf collection and there's the brush collection.
Okay, all right. Jason, do you want to come up and give us a quick rundown on this?
What was the question, sir?
Brush and leaf, they're two separate.
Correct, so traditionally, and we always have done brush pickup a week early before leaf pickup, in the hopes that the leaves and brush don't get mixed together. Definitely the new way we do it, it has to be pretty free of all sticks and debris or it's not gonna go through the machine. We don't put the leaf brush pickup in wards. Traditionally it's a lot faster, so we just start north end at every street until the way out. That's why we just ask for all brush to be out on that one day by 7 a.m.
October 16th is when it starts, so
Yes, sir.
have it out by then.
Yes, sir.
Any questions for Jason while he's at the podium? Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Oh, Councilman Palladino.
Will this be included in a bill, or will there be any notification for this?
So there will be on social media as we get closer. I know Sam will post it out and it'll go, I can't remember last year we put it in the BPU billings. I don't remember if we did that this year.
Every year it's
Every year it's in the city
Well,
newsletter.
it'll be in the newsletter, yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. All right, we'll move on. Item E, letter E, communications petitions, TIFA letter. And I see our TIFA chair is here tonight. Drew, would you like to come to the podium and talk about this letter a little bit, please?
Good evening, councilors, Mr. Mayor, David. I asked for this letter to be included in the packet because I've taken the issue, the situation as far as the authority allowed by the TIFA board. The formerly Current Office Solutions, the building on the corner of Howell and Palmer, was purchased by Hillsdale College. They've made their communication center there, and they have scheduled a class to be held there. What this has done has taken that property off of the tax rolls, which has taken $7,100 out of TIFA's annual capture every year, which accounts for about 7%. We've tried to communicate with the college to address the issue, and haven't gotten anywhere. So our board voted to bring this to council. And that's it.
Thank you, Drew. Are there any questions? Are there, before we ask Drew any questions, I would just like to inform council that I also intend to write a strongly worded letter to the college regarding that property, regarding the need for retail downtown, and you know, we've always been a really good neighbor to them. I think we're an excellent neighbor to the college, and I would like to ask for a little reciprocation on this item. This is our downtown we're talking about, so you know, they've got a huge campus with, and we need that building to either be retail, or if it's not going to be retail, it needs to at least be on the tax rolls. So I would like to send a letter under city letterhead, and any council members that would sign on to that letter, I would appreciate it. So when it's done, I'll send it all around to everybody. If you guys want to check it for edits or would like to give me suggestions on my poor grammar or whatever, and then I would appreciate any council member that would sign it. So, any questions for Drew?
And can we get them to give a pilot?
It's beyond the purview of the TIFA board. That's why I'm here. I don't know if a pilot is the answer. That's for you gentlemen to decide.
I just have two things. One's a slight correction. It came off the tax bills. I talked to Patrick Flannery about the building. It has nothing to do with the classroom, because dorms and stuff are not taxed either. Anything with the operation of the school is not taxed. It can be. But in pilots, we cannot force. But I guess my second point was, I'd like to ask Dave or somebody, can we look at other small colleges, small towns, and see what that relationship's like? Because one way or the other, we're all connected to the college. I mean, we either work there, went to school there, have family there, have children going there, some way. This is a small community. And, you know, just to find out what this true relationship is. Because, again, Patrick didn't go into details, but he says there is a lot of things the college does for the city that we may not know about. And not to make all that public, they don't want it, but I just think that relationship needs to be clarified. But like Drew said, TIFA cannot, if any business, Drew said this best at the TIFA meeting, any business that's losing 7% of their income, they're gonna plug that hole as fast as they can. And that's what this is to TIFA.
Absolutely.
So,
Thank you, Councilman Stuchel. Do you have something to add, Councilman Soha?
I've spoken to some of Hillsdale College's council about the pilot program, and they've been averse to it.
Traditionally, they have been averse to any sort of pilot payment, and as Councilman Stuchel said, you know, pilots aren't something that you can force. But like I said, we all live in this town together, and like Councilman Stuchel said, we all have some sort of connection to Hillsdale College in one way or another. If we live in this community, we just do. And if there's no other connection than the fact that we're neighbors, you know. And like I said, I think we've been a good neighbor to the college. I think we go out of our way to try to make life easier on them when they have events, and I don't think there's anything wrong with asking for a little reciprocation on that end.
I think to Drew's point, is there anything more we can do than just have a letter from the mayor and us sign it? I mean, can we have a sit down? Can we ask them to meet with us? I'm asking the city manager.
We can always ask them to sit down and meet with us. As was said, we have a good relationship with them. Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
So I actually asked Dave to inquire about colleges in the area and how their relationship with the city. And many colleges do a type of pilot to their cities and their communities. And I don't know how deeply Hillsdale College is invested in the community, but I know that they've been doing more and more over the years as an institution. But I would like to see your letter, Mayor. I wanted to say.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I will send it to all of council before sending it, of course, and get the approval of at least of the majority of everybody. Well, it's about, what, 2 years ago, Dave and I went and sat down with Dr. Arn and had a really good conversation about the relationship between the city and the college moving forward. And so, really do feel like there's a good open line of communication there, and, yeah, we'll ask to sit down with them. You can go ahead and say, Attorney.
Just one brief thing in terms of what you might, present to the college, at least with respect to the building that's in the Tiffin district. So a pilot payment would typically be a payment in lieu of taxes, which would be in lieu of the typical property taxes they pay, which won't necessarily do anything for TIFA. However, a TIFA can accept contributions, donations, that sort of thing. So that might be one thing to ask the college about, would be if they would be willing to make some contribution to the TIFA in relationship to that building, because they do get the benefit of what TIFA does in that district in terms of making all of the storefronts and all of the businesses look nice and have things that go on down there that certainly would help the college at least maintain the value of the property that it holds down there. So that's just one of the differences that you might want to keep in mind when you're talking to them, because getting them to, even if you were to get them to agree to a pilot, that doesn't necessarily do anything for the TIFA. But it may be attractive to them to do at least something from the TIFA, but maybe not.
Well, when they first purchased the building, there was talks of putting in like a satellite bookstore, in there, and if nothing else, that would keep, you know, a good sized building in the downtown, a retail business, and I mean, I can't imagine that a Hillsdale College bookstore in our downtown wouldn't be successful. I think all the traffic we get, the trains coming in now, I think a lot of people would go there and pick up, farmer's market. I mean, I think that'd be something that could be beneficial for everybody. And if that didn't get us anything else except for a retail business downtown instead of a call center, that'd be a win. So, Councilman Palladino.
We're losing $7,100 for TIFA, but what are we losing from the property taxes overall, do we know?
More than that. So the way the Tiffin district works is whenever that building, whenever the district was initiated, the property taxes should have been frozen at whatever the current rate was at that time, and then the increases, which would have been that $7,100, would be what would go into the TIFA fund. So anything under the $7,100 from when's the last time the Tiffin district was, the rates at the Tiffin district were.
But
When
then
the
add to,
Tiffin district was established, that's when it was capped.
1980.
but to add to what Josh was talking about, if you look at the city property tax, the townhouses there on Main Street, I think the college owns a number of those. On the corner of Hillsdale Street and Hillsdale and Fayette, there's 4 homes that just sold for over $1 million that went to the college. There's the house on Union Street that was just purchased by the college and demoed, that came off the tax rolls. I mean, it's not just this building here, this is for TIFA, but as a city, and I think that's this discussion, this letter needs to be expanded maybe outside of TIFA, because how do we, you know what I'm saying?
No, absolutely.
Those buildings on Hillsdale, Fayette Street, I mean, there's 4 homes there, and those are beautiful, and they bought those down their school housing, and they just completely fell off, so.
It's the elephant in the room, Councilman Stuchel. We can't keep doing business like this, or we're never gonna dig ourselves out of the hole that we're in. Councilman Wolfram.
So just legally, if it's used as a dorm, then it's exempt from the property taxes?
Anything.
Okay. I mean, but if the college were to open a movie theater or something, that would not be tax exempt. So, but if it has something connected with education,
Operational.
the operations.
But if they open the theaters,
Right.
theater for education, then it's tax, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Yes, sir. We all gotta live in this community together, so let's approach this prudently but assertively. So, Councilman Chuck.
We've, with this airport expansion, everything that's going out there, that benefits the college, but also benefits the community. But you do see a lot of jets coming in there, especially in this next few weeks. There'll be more activity out there. The parking lots they made out there, those used to have homes on them. They're now just parking lots, and we'll never recover that. But we're not trying to pick on them. We're trying to say, help us a little bit here, because we are losing so much. And we want to make this a vibrant downtown. The farmer's market helps the downtown, but it's only for one day, for 6 hours. And that's when you go down there, it's so packed with people. And that's what Hillsdale needs. It's not this drinking district, it's about bringing people downtown to look at downtown. And when I seen people from Coldwater Lake coming over here for the farmer's market, that says a lot about Hillsdale. And they were nothing but praising the way the farmer's market was in Hillsdale. And I think that's a benefit to the city.
Thank you, Councilman Wolfram.
Can we put together a total amount of property taxes that have been collected if they're not owned by the college within the city?
That'd probably take a lot of work,
That'd take a lot of work.
I mean, it's something we could initiate. I know that as it stands currently, Hillsdale College is the biggest taxpayer in the city, but I think they pay about $40,000 a year in taxes. Is that correct, Dave?
I believe that's in the
Pretty close.
ballpark for sure. To answer Councilman Wolfram's question, I mean, some of the ones that we could key in on are the demolitions, the townhouses, because that actually came to this council, and it was promised that the city would be getting the taxes on it, and then it was donated to the college, or gifted to the college, and then it was taken off because it's housing. The same thing
on Hillsdale Street. It's
Hillsdale
happening
Street
right
and
now.
Fayette. So yeah, it would probably be good to get a kind of a total picture of what the key things have been. And I can talk to the assessor about pulling that together.
But just to add the positive side, I mean, Hillsdale College is a very difficult school to get into. I think it's around 17–18%, which means the best and the brightest in this country are coming here. Well, after graduation, they all leave, some stay. And that's where you're starting to see some new business. So, I mean, there's a huge, huge benefit to have this partnership with the school.
Without a doubt. Councilman Wolfram.
Well, there are also a number of people that have purchased property in Hillsdale and have come here to live here because of the college.
Yeah.
And we have some people out in the audience that happen to know of that's the case. So somebody said they're the largest, you said they're the largest taxpayer, and is that through?
Since about 2018, they've been the largest taxpayer.
And what taxes those paying?
I'm not sure exactly what the properties are that they pay taxes on, but
So they're paying on property that they own.
that isn't directly connected to educational
Got it.
experiences. So,
Okay.
but there's a lot of wiggle room on what that is, what exactly constitutes an educational institution. And we were here with the college just a couple years ago on some properties, and we got it sorted out, right, Dave? Mostly.
Yeah.
So, did you have something to add?
I did. I'm not necessarily, the typical board isn't necessarily asking that this be revisited, revised. Hillsdale College did absolutely nothing illegal when they applied for tax exemption and got it. I would ask that this be looked at as an example and urge City Council to look into ways to maybe have more of a hand in this kind of situation going on downtown. It certainly doesn't look like it now, thank goodness, but we don't want downtown Hillsdale to be downtown Albion. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I'll draft a letter. Would you all please send me things that you think are important to add in it, and then we'll put it all together as a collective unit. I'll send it all out to you guys, and we'll go from there. We'll get something really nice, and we will, as Councilman Stuchel said, we'll ask for some FaceTime with some key decision makers up there, so we can have a friendly, assertive conversation. Councilman Calvino.
When Kim did her last assessor's report, I asked her to include all of the numbers of nonprofits in the city. And I don't know if anyone looked into that much, but it ended up being about 1/3 of all the capturable tax value in the city fell under nonprofit status. And this is obviously far beyond Andrew's point, and I do think we should address this, but this is basically the problem of local government in the post-industrial Midwest, is that all of the largest taxpayers are exempt educational, social services. So not only would I like to see us reach out to the college, but maybe even just so that it doesn't feel as if we're singling out the college, although there's an obvious reason that we want to reach out to them. We have a good relationship, they're very large. But to make this broader to all of the nonprofits and ask them to chip in something. I don't know what we could potentially ask. 1 mil, 1/20th of what the average taxpayer pays, something like that. But all of these things that are at least my concerns, the special assessment districts, all of these issues that we face over and over, really are not a result of mismanagement on the city's part, in my mind, but a result of chronically low revenue from a taxpayer base, a corporate base that is basically tax exempt. And so the city is left with no industry to support it, but a middle-class residential taxpayer base to support the whole city. So I will definitely sign the letter. I would like to see this expand beyond, and if we can't get this under control, I think as Andrew was hinting at, like to explore options to potentially contain nonprofits, both in the downtown and residentially, frankly speaking. I don't know what we could do in terms of state politics, but the question that came up earlier in terms of what is an educational or a social service interest, this definition has gone pretty wild. Are we gonna tax Lane and Kendall? Central Hall? Probably not, right? I think we could all agree on that, but when you have holdings that are outside of the main core of what a nonprofit is supposed to be, I almost wonder if we should, take broader steps. And I don't know what that could be. I would love to have legal and the city staff explore that.
Tom, can we cap nonprofits? Can we put a cap at the number of nonprofits in the city, or would that be illegal?
That would be illegal.
Okay. I think that's much
Also, all of the tax rates that relate, or the criteria for determining what constitutes or doesn't constitute a use that's subject to the exemptions that are available for the types of nonprofits that can be exempt from property taxes. That's all determined by the Michigan Tax Tribunal. So while we can take the position as the city that certain things maybe don't fit under that, they can contest that, the entity, and then end up at the tax tribunal, and there's case law that determines whether or not that type of use or those circumstances allow it to be exempt or not.
Yeah,
And sometimes they are, and sometimes they aren't.
what I was alluding to earlier with Dave. We've been here before, because we did
Yes.
contest some of their,
Some of the ones with the college.
Another thing is, the city of Hillsdale puts our money where our mouth is, because we're a nonprofit too, and we pay a pilot payment. The Board of Public Utilities pays a pilot payment to the city of Hillsdale. So that's our own nonprofit, municipal electric company, and we pay 6% pilot payment to the city of Hillsdale. It's a pretty substantial amount, so.
But I just want to expand on Josh's idea. because like I said, that's a bonus to the hospital, the college, everybody's employees. And plus, if we shoehorn it into one category, then they can watch it, they can monitor, they can audit, make sure that we're doing our part. So I think it's a good idea to include all the nonprofits.
However,
Bring JJ in here too.
however, we are collecting 3.5 mils right now for the roads. 10 years, voters approved that, correct? So we are collecting something for the roads and $0.5 mil for the sleeves. So
And
it's just,
special
I see where
assessments.
you're going with
I
it.
understand. Like Josh,
Yeah, we're the ones doing all that, and then we're paying special assessment fees on our neighborhoods, so.
So, just to be clear, on all the special assessments, everyone pays that, so.
Correct.
The college pays on where their properties lie, hospital pays, so special assessments, there is no, exemption, yes.
But everybody benefits from the special exemption, or things in the long run, on special assessed roads, stuff like that, neighborhoods. Anyway, can we move on?
Did you have something else to add, or? And then
The 3.5 is a good point. Maybe we could ask for 3.5 and we would say it will only go to something you know you are gonna get a benefit from. But also, that's a good point about the special assessments. If we could organize those in a way that they would be along nonprofits, you know, if they're not willing to contribute, that would be a way to say, look, okay, everyone else is gonna get what they're paying for in their taxes. We're gonna ask you to pay extra, because, you know, these, you know, over on Griswold, St. Joe's, there's no nonprofits over there, and they're paying this all out of pocket.
Sure.
I just have one quick thing. I would like to present something to the council in a bit about revenue sharing. I've done pieces on revenue sharing since 2016, but in 2008 you get this huge collapse in the revenue sharing, and that has never been returned. And that's one of the reasons that the city is in all cities have found financial problems. Revenue sharing along with Proposal A that limited nobody thought in 2008 that when, you know, Proposal A was, you had this big collapse in taxable property values, it could only go up by 5% of the rate of inflation, whichever's lower. So it could take 15 years just to get back to where you were. So I'm gonna I'll put something together in the next, month or so. And then maybe we could sit down or get together with our state representative and try to push on an increase in revenue sharing.
Yeah, I've read a lot of your papers and articles about revenue sharing, Councilman Wolfram, so I would be open to having one of those in the packet, having a discussion on it. All right, so we good? We got the start of the game plan moving forward, guys? Yeah? Okay, let's move on to item letter F, which is a letter from Mr. Jansen, who is not here tonight. So the high bits are, it's about the library, and there's a bunch of case law in it. Western District of Texas, Austin Division. This is really library board stuff, but if anybody wants to discuss anything about it, then. All right, we'll move on to item G, which is the Potawatomi Hills letter, which Jennifer was already good enough to take to the podium. My suggestion on this would be to send this to Public Safety Committee to explore the things that Jennifer, that Mrs. Wheel was proposing, such as the fence and the lighting. Councilman Soto.
Thank you, Mayor. I was gonna suggest that because I haven't submitted it to Katie yet, but we're gonna have a public safety meeting this Thursday at 6 p.m. I'll talk to you after, Chief, about that.
So our neighbors in Potawatomi Hills, there'll be a public safety meeting this Thursday at 6 p.m. Katie will get it posted, and we will start the process of looking into getting a fence out there, or whatever your other suggestions were. So yeah, we'll talk about all that stuff. Did you have something, Councilman Beard?
When did they, because I thought they used to gate it, and because parks were supposed to be closed at 10 or 11. 10, okay. And then, and, right at dusk, and then they had that big metal gate they used to, and I guess why that was discontinued.
Can we ask Jason to come up? I believe it got destroyed,
It got
but, I'll let Jason talk about it.
Somebody drive through it or something.
Yeah, so we did take that down with intent to putting it back up. There was another part, they did get hit and destroyed when it was setting down, but I believe, now I have to do some check on this, for our Act 51 funding, I don't believe that fence can get put back up, as part of our funding for our major local street system. I would have to verify that, but that's kind of where that fell when we left office.
Okay, all right.
Do some research. I just have a basic question. Before we have a meeting, is there a reason why we're not patrolling that area more with our police department?
Chief?
We have been, I've been in contact ever since, I'm sorry, we're here at the last meeting. I spoke with both my night crews who had been, including the walk path. And they reported to me everything they're finding out there basically is kids, is how they put it, and they tell them they gotta leave. They have found some people in the water and the beach after hours, yes, after midnight. I believe this time of year, the signage entering the park is the prohibited usage is midnight to 4 a.m. That may change for winter hours, but it's not dusk. We always closed that gate when it did exist at midnight, and it had to be opened up at 4. And that does show, we did have other problems out there when they knew a car wasn't coming out there, whether they walked in from the backside, went down the walk path, come across in a boat, but the issues we used to have when the gate was closed, we don't really have anymore, whether that is how you can attribute it to that or not. But the guys are doing their due diligence, they're not finding drug deals out there, it's kids going in and out, is what they have reported to me. And they have been doing that diligently even before the last council meeting when they spoke.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions for Chief while he's at the podium? Thank you, Chief. All right. So, Rob, public safety meeting Thursday? Looking at some of this stuff?
Absolutely, may I add to?
Yes, sir.
So, when Mrs. Stocks Park closes and there's people there, that park is directly behind my house. And so I usually wait 30 minutes or so, and if they're still there and I can still hear them, I will phone 911, the non-emergency number, and ask them, and the police have been very quick to respond every time. So I would just encourage you, if you see these things happening at these terrible hours of the morning that are keeping you up, make use of that, and you can call the emergency number as well. I just choose to call the non-emergency number because that's what I do, but that would be my encouragement to you, at least in the short term, as we consider this. And then you're welcome to come on Thursday and express any other concerns. 6 p.m. it'll be here.
Any more discussion on this, Councilman Palladino?
Thank you. Would they receive the city police or the county though?
If they're on city property and they say there's people at the beach past hours, it would be the city police.
So the
But if they're
operator,
calling for property that's not in the city limits, then they would receive city police officers.
okay, so the operator will send city police officers for a non-city resident call.
If it's in the city of Hillsdale, that the offense is taking place, absolutely.
One question, are you because you had that meeting about a month ago, and I'm curious if the police are responding to your calls generally, maybe not even at Sandy Beach, but in the area.
You're on the agenda, you can go ahead and approach the podium if you have something you want to add.
Somebody else is free to speak because we've all experienced it. Anybody want to say it but me?
Good evening. My name is Jerry Wilhelm. I live at 2635 Winona, right above the public beach. There's a sign at the entrance to the park that says the park closes at midnight. There's a sign at the public beach that says the beach closes at 8 o'clock. And I think both are unreasonable. The 12 o'clock time is way past the time that anybody reasonably should be using the park. I mean, who goes to a city park or any park at 10:30, 11 o'clock when it's dark, right? At the same time, you can't stop people from swimming in the summer when it doesn't get dark until 9:30. So I think when the city needs to look at those times for one and make them more reasonable. You probably have to adjust it for seasons as well. But the simplest thing, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, is you block the road. It's the traffic in vehicles, motorcycles and cars and trucks with loud mufflers and so on that go on throughout the night. As late as 3 or 4 in the morning, we are awakened by people speeding up and down the road there. It's simple to me. I would like you to consider that as an option. It's certainly more reasonably priced for the city than to have the police going out on multiple calls over and over and over. And I know that we are understaffed. The police are understaffed. And frankly, it's the kind of thing, the police should be looking at crimes, real crimes, not people who are just disturbing one's peace. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I mean, that's gonna be the first thing you look at, right? A gate at the public safety meeting? Yeah? Yeah. Chris Fast at 2584 Winona Drive in Potawatomi. And this is much more than just kids. I mean, there's drug dealing that's going on down there. You see it all the time, the interaction. The doors, they come in 30 seconds, interaction, leave, door shuts, somebody else moves in. I would seem that if you shut the park down at dusk and then reopen it at dawn, that would take a lot of pressure off the police as well. They would maybe go someplace else and do it, I don't know, but at least they wouldn't do it down there. I mean, Sandy Beach, over the years, has not been an amazing place. And the last 10 to 15 years, the Rotary has really done a great job of trying to get that place to look presentable. And now we're here, and I feel at this point, kind of, I hope that, you know, it's not a place that, it's a place that we would all be proud of. And we want to continue to have a nice area and not a place that's, you know, has wrongdoings going on throughout the night. So that's all I have to say. Chris? Yes, sir.
You've been out there for a while, right? I mean, is this the first year this has happened? Did this happen last year? Is it?
No, I mean, yes, I mean, there's a lot more going on this year than in the past. But no, I mean, it's throughout the 20 years that I lived there. I mean, there's been definitely some, every year there's situations for sure, but it's ramped up this year.
Can you tolerate one more quick comment?
Sure.
I'm Louis Lassard, I live at 2511 Winona Drive. The back of my house is about 50 feet off the road, about 150 yards from the beach. If there's traffic, and I'm not up all night long, but repeatedly after dark till 2 or 3 in the morning, I can sit on my back deck. The car goes down, the car comes back 5 minutes later. Another one goes down, they come 5 minutes later. I can only think of one reason for that traffic. The only purpose to go down there is for drugs. I actually foolishly last time I took a walk down about 11 o'clock at night, just, curious minds want to know. And you could see that the car at the back flashes the lights. Another car comes down, flashes the lights. Then they see me standing there. And the car coming down turns right around and takes off. I mean, they didn't know who I was, but, so I think there's drug dealing that goes on pretty much 365 days a year there. And based on observations. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Shane Miller. We live at 2799 Peterson Road. We're the very last house if you're walking past Sandy Beach before the trail goes into the woods. Same thing as these guys have seen. We see a lot of traffic. We were broken into on June 5th, our garage. Golf cart stolen, a couple chainsaws, hedge trimmers. Upon a little investigation myself, I actually found the guy the next day. Homeless guy living back here in the tent city. But I think for me, and maybe at that safety meeting, I won't be able to be there Thursday, but I've talked to Michelle a few times about it. The docks down there towards us, it's super dark. So I don't know if there's something more lighting down there. I know criminals don't like lights normally, so, but yeah, it's really dark at that end. And I know people even rent the docks. I mean, we have 4 kids, we're up till midnight, but we have a lot of traffic down through there, and I think a lot of homeless people, backpacks. But we're up pretty late, so we can kind of patrol it a little bit, but yeah, I don't know. As far as closing the park, I know I talked to one of the guys that rented a dock, and he said, I like to fish at 3, 4 in the morning, so I think that's why they stopped maybe closing the gate to some people, but yeah, I don't know if it's something simple where if the police could come down, hey, the park's closed, get people out of there, but there's traffic. Like, these people live right by it, so I know they gotta hear it really bad, but, people doing donuts in front of the house it happens all the time, but I just don't know the solution. I really don't know. Yeah, I don't know, because you call the cop, I could call the cops, Mr. Sockshot said, call the cops, we could call them every day, 3, 4 times a day, I don't want to be that guy. So I physically go down there, maybe take law into my own hands sometimes. I've been in a few altercations, but you don't want to keep bugging the cops, because by the time you call them, they get down there, there's nothing going on. The damage has been done, they're on their way, so. But yeah, I don't know, maybe Thursday night it's something, we could discuss more, but I think definitely more lighting around the beach area would be, the dock area would be definitely, I'm actually considering putting something on our own property that I could shine like some spotlights down there or something, because it's really dark, but, so, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Rick Roth, 2510 Winona, and thank you for your listening ear this evening. I think the thing that we want to impress is that we consider this Sandy Beach and the bike path to be real assets of our community. And when people move here, those are 2 of the things that they're very impressed with. So we're interested in preserving that. We hope the city is as well. And there's many details, more details that we could share with you and maybe can on Thursday night. But we're front and center, and we're more than willing to do our part and try to help curtail the negative activity down there. But I think the city has to take the lead on it, and then we're more than willing to do what we can to assist. So thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
I'd like to add one thing. Excuse me. In the last minute materials that you were handed, there's the most recent thing that I witnessed last night. And it's another one of those 5 minutes in, 5 minutes out. Last night involving a flashlight at the base of our property going through, right at the property line between the city and our property. A flashlight is going through the trees and the bushes. There are 2 cars parked there now. One of them leaves. The other one eventually leaves too. And, you know, I'd love to know that it was a police car, but they don't usually stick around and shine lights in each other's direction and so on. It really is all the time. And I've been on the planet a long time. It's not people going back there to neck for 3 minutes or 5 minutes. There are many better places they can do that. Neck, what an old-fashioned word. But anyway, we have to be realistic. And the policemen who were there the night the young woman was shot were lovely people. They were patient. They were efficient, getting all of those people out of there. And as I said, I believe within 20 minutes, there's a whole group who came back. And by that time, a lot of us were just tired. Last night, I stayed up as late as I wanted to stay up after driving all day, my husband and I did, so that we could be at this meeting tonight. And I thought, well, you know, why am I doing this? It's just going to go on and on and on unless we have some way of discouraging people from coming into the park at all. Make it a little harder for them to choose the front of their house, basically, to do their work. And what are they beaming the flashlights around in the bushes for? They ain't looking for cans to turn in for money. So, Chief, I respect your 4 guys a lot and the work that they do. But I will tell you that after we started making the complaints, we saw them a lot more often. And it's not complaints because we think we deserve anything. They're on city property. And we've been told by the county and by the city as well not to confront anybody. Whether we're legally carrying or not, we are not to confront anybody. And I said to the person I talked with at dispatch, does this mean you want us to keep calling all night? And she said, yes. But I think that's a little unrealistic. Do you, sir?
Just for a car driving back and turn around and leaving, no.
2 cars. One coming in and waiting, and as Rick said, flashing lights. The next one coming in, they recognize one another. 5 minutes later, one leaves, and the other one comes behind. And that may happen 3 or 4 times in a row. That's not normal behavior. That's not what anybody in this room, unless the person is dealing drugs.
Jennifer, this is way out of order for a council meeting.
I'll sit down.
You can speak with the chief after the meeting if you'd like.
I apologize.
It's okay. It's okay. I appreciate you guys being here. We just have to have some sort of order of decorum here. We're gonna have a public safety meeting Thursday at 6 o'clock. I encourage you guys all to attend. Any more discussion?
Yeah. I'll come out and visit you guys. So don't be surprised to come banging on your door because I want to see what's going on. I may even come out early in the evening too. You never know, but I'm retired. I have plenty of time. So I'll be more than happy to come out and visit. I got your addresses wrote down. So I want to see what's going on myself. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Bruce. Okay, we'll move on. No introduction, adoption of ordinances, no old business. We'll go right into new business. Neighborhood enterprise zone application, Commonwealth. Sam.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So tonight, you have before you 8 applications from Commonwealth Development that were received by the City Clerk's Office. Commonwealth Development is requesting neighborhood enterprise zone certificates for these 8 properties. They are all located within our NEZ number 4, which was established by City Council on November 18, 2019. Some of you will probably know this is a continuation of the Hillsdale Commons development out there on East Bacon Street. So they are ready to move into another phase. all of the properties out there up to this point, they've also applied for NEC certificates and have received them in their earlier phases. So what we need tonight is for you guys to consider granting those certificates for those 8 properties so we can get the information to the state.
Thank you, Sam. Do you know where we're at for total percentage of city land that's neighborhood enterprise zone yet?
After the ones in the earlier phase, we're only like 3%.
Okay.
So we can go up to 15, but we're nowhere near that right now.
Okay, very good. That's all. That's my only question. Anybody have anything to add? It's a thing. Councilman Palladino.
All the properties are gonna be sold to homeowners?
They're condos, so yes.
That's correct. For this specific exemption, it requires that they are primarily owner occupied. So the developer is building these units for sale. And I will say that so far they've been very successful in selling them as they've continued building. So when you kind of look at holistically what the city is doing with housing, with our project in Three Meadows, with this, we're kind of looking at trying to address housing all across the board and meet the need. And Stoll's been very successful so far in doing that here.
Thank you, Sam. Any more questions for Sam? Entertain a motion to approve the neighborhood enterprise zones for these 8 properties?
All 8 simultaneously?
Mayor, so we do need separate votes.
Oh, you don't, really? For every one of them?
Unfortunately for these.
Okay, then I move to approve the first one.
All right. Motion on the floor from Councilman Soha, seconded by Councilman Sharp for property number 232. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Do I have a motion for 233?
So moved.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Soha, seconded by Councilman Sharp for property number 233. All in favor?
Wait, 230, we just did 233.
No, we did 232.
Oh, my bad. I misheard. 233, so, yeah.
Yep, motion's on the floor and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Entertain a motion for property number 234.
So moved.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Soha, seconded by Councilman Veer. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Entertain a motion for property number 235.
So moved.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Soha, seconded by Councilman Veer for property number 235. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Let's look at a motion for 242.
So moved.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Soha, seconded by Councilman Veer for property number 242. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Entertain a motion for property number 243.
So moved.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Soha, seconded by Councilman Veer for property number 243. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Entertain a motion for property number 244.
So moved.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Soha, seconded by Councilman Veer for property number 244. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. And entertain a motion for property number 245.
So moved.
Motion on the floor for property number 245 from Councilman Soha, seconded by Councilman Sharp. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. You got that all, Katie?
I got it.
All right, very good. Let's move on. New business item B, Willow Oak.
Just to comment, I
Yes,
was
sir.
deputy state treasurer and was mainly responsible for the neighborhood enterprise zone legislation, so.
You're the one.
You're the guy, huh? That's interesting. See, I think we've talked about this before, but so my idea would be these good folks out at Potawatomi Hills, right? Annex them into the city, use a neighborhood enterprise zone to freeze their property taxes at the value that it's at for what is it, 12 years? And then they get city services, then they're just paying taxes to the city, but then they have city police force so they can call the city police anytime something happens on their own property. Something to think about. Okay, let's go. Kristen, Willow Oak Storm Water Project.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Back in '21, we contracted with a consulting firm to do some studies of some stormwater issues we had around the city, one of which being the Willow Oak area. There's an old drainage that comes off of Kiku's Park and this is Superior Road, I believe. And there was a building built on the northeast corner of that intersection that was built over our storm sewer. So we've been dealing with some issues with that, and we investigated if it was possible to, run a new storm sewer around that building to get it out from underneath it. So we did that. We went back and had a design done, and we have funds available left over from another project that we saved some funds in to complete work in this location for this storm sewer project. So we took bids a month or so ago. We had 5 bidders, the low bid being $145,000 for Parish Excavating, which was actually about $50,000 under our engineer's estimate. So that was fortuitous, and so we would like to move forward with contracting Parish Excavating to complete this work. In my discussion prior to bidding, I believe they're intending to do this work in the fall, so we'll get it done here before the winter. And I think it won't solve all the problems in that area, but it will make the situation better.
Excellent, thank you, Kristen. And we've had great experiences with Parish. So, any questions for Kristen? Kristen, excuse me. Councilman Soha.
This is just right across from the Copper and Brass, is that right?
Yes.
And the current storm sewer, if I understand correctly, is underneath that, like, warehouse type building across the street?
Yes.
Okay. And then we're gonna move that out to the right of way? Or?
No, we're gonna build to the north of that building and then along the bike trail. Oh, and then we now own the property on the west side of Oak Street, so it's gonna go across that property that we just got. It was deeded to us from the road commission.
Is that across from the old dilapidated kind of structure that's there behind Gelsers?
It's the triangle piece no, it's up north of the river between the trail. It's a triangular piece of property right
Oh, next to the yellow house there?
where Willow comes out, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. Any more questions for Kristen?
Motion to approve Parish excavation for that $145,000 supplemental chunk. Thank you. Second.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Sharp, seconded by Councilman Wolfram, to award the bid to Parish Excavating of Quincy in the amount of $145,240. Can I have a roll call, City Clerk?
Councilmember Soha,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
Beer,
Yes.
Wolfram,
Yes.
Mayor Stockford,
Yes.
Councilperson Palladino,
Yes.
and Sharp.
Twice?
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Stuchel, sorry, I switched glasses. 7-0 approved.
Thank you, Katie. We'll move on to new business item C, City of Hillsdale Section 3 policy. City of Hillsdale awarded a grant from MEDC for a water valve and sanitary improvement project on March 3rd, 2014. Council adopted a previous Section 3 policy. Policy needs to be updated to align with revisions made by the MEDC in 2022 prior to the release of the grant funds. Anything to add to this, David?
No, Kristen.
Kristen, is there anything you want to mention, because you're the one who's updated this?
No, and I should have said that HUD updated all the requirements for these grants, so we just need to come into alignment with what's current, because ours is out of date.
Yeah. Okay, any questions?
Move to adopt.
Is there anything of note there? It's a lot.
They significantly changed what their definitions of like Section 3 workers, and it used to be a housing thing, and now it's more of a worker-driven thing, was what I took from reading the old policy and the new policy as I was writing this document. And so that there's a lot of legal terms and, well, I don't know what CFR stands for. What is CFR?
Code of Federal Regulation.
Yeah, so there were CFR references that weren't valid anymore that we needed to take out, so we basically just adopted what MEDC supplied us. Just to make sure we didn't have anything in there that was no longer valid.
Move to adopt.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Soha, seconded by Councilman Sharp to adopt the new MEDC, or excuse me, HUD, Section 3 policy. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. All right, we'll move on to item D, which is set a public hearing for special assessment district. This is for St. Joe and for Griswold, and it looks like August 21st. So is there anything to add, Kristen? We're just setting the public hearing, so.
That's exactly it, we're just setting public hearings so that we can send letters out to notify all the parcels along that like within the special assessment district.
Okay, we've done a lot of these now already. Entertain a motion to set the public hearing for August 21st.
So moved.
Second.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Soha, seconded by Councilman Sharp. Set a public hearing for August 21st for Special Assessment District 2024-08 St. Joe and Griswold. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Oh, I'm sorry, Councilman.
Yeah, I'm just, from the, now, it says for the, is that just on, for the West St. Joe, or is it both sides of that?
Just west.
Just the west side?
Yeah, well, I don't think we're doing this, correct?
It is just West St. Joe from Bacon to South, and then from South Street all the way to Waterworks.
Okay, okay.
I mean, both those streets. Yeah.
I'm sorry?
No,
They're both crappy, but he's saying.
Yeah, that was just,
True. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, we're done with new business. We've got one appointment. It's John Condon to Brownfield Redevelopment Board. Anybody have any questions about Mr. Condon? He'll be a good addition to the board. Councilman Wolfram, you've been on that board before, correct? He'll be a good addition to it. So, entertain a motion to appoint Mr. Condon to that board.
He's also a non-city resident.
John?
He owns Hillsdale
He owns
Terminal.
Hillsdale Terminal, yeah.
Which is in the industrial park.
Brownfield redevelopment is industrial development, rehabilitation. Mr. Condon owns Hillsdale Terminal, family business. I mean, the Condons have, Curtis, John, he's very appropriate for the board.
Tyler.
Yeah. So I don't know, is Mr. Condon not a resident of the city?
He's just outside of the city.
Well, it's an industrial committee and he owns a factory, so that's why I thought he would be good. And he owns a factory in our industrial park. So,
Matter of fact, he just expanded it a year ago. So.
yeah, it's really cool too. I mean, they're like the only people in the country that do what they do, so it's a really good thing to have in our industrial park. Satisfactory, Councilman Palladino?
I move to approve John Condon.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Soha, seconded by Councilman Veer. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, we'll move on to general public comment. During this time, the podium will be open. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Please limit your trips to 1 to the podium, and you can comment on whatever your heart so desires at this point. The podium is now open.
John Beckwith, I live at 3671 Wildwood Court. That's at Lake Wilson. Real quick, I have talked with the Vice President of Manufacturing at Myers about building an ice cream plant here in Hillsdale. And I think at this point in time, I'd like to get a meeting set up with Myers that we can sit down and build an ice cream plant for Myers, because they do not have an ice cream plant yet. They're going to have one of these days, and we could build this ice cream plant for them here in Hillsdale. Then we can basically pay it off by manufacturing ice cream for Myers supermarket chains and other ice creams across the country, really, especially with my macaron and creamery program. That would be something we would get exclusively for Myers at this point in this part of the country. I would really like to set up a committee, see if we can't talk to these guys, because we can be about $20 million to do a brand new dairy, do 5 million gallons a year on this plant, and then we'd be able to expand it too on that. But that's all new equipment, which we don't need all new equipment on that. So I'd like to get the mayor off his duff, and we can put something together here, because I've been talking to him for 2 years now. You've got to put this thing together. But I need you guys to really put together Hillsdale, bring it in. I'm just an ice cream manufacturer, that's all I am. But I get Hillsdale behind us, and we can get this maybe done Myers. The other thing is that I was a lifeguard at Ball Bees for 3 years, 1966, 67, 68. And I was a certified diver. Also, we had a lady that taught swimming. She was from my class of 66. And we had school buses coming from every school in Hillsdale County to Sandy Beach, and we taught all these people how to swim. And it was quite an operation back in those days. And I would highly, now this is 60 years ago, okay? So you guys are pretty young. I'm not sure a lot of you guys even understand what it was like back in the 1950s and the 60s, okay? But I think we could bring this back. Also, I've been in 48 states in this country. I've driven over 2 million miles in my lifetime in sales, and I've taken pretty much looks at different towns I've been through. Hillsdale is sitting on a gold mine. Hillsdale, we could turn Hillsdale into a basically Petoskey area. And because we have everything here, that why drive 285 miles to Petoskey when you come to Hillsdale? We're the highest point in southern Michigan. Downtown Hillsdale is 1,150 feet above sea level. Pioneer is only 900 feet above sea level. Everything here is basically spring fed. All our lakes are spring fed. 5 rivers start here, they're all spring fed. And this is basically, Hillsdale is kind of a place where it should have never been, but it's a lot like northern Michigan. The potential is that we could turn Hillsdale into another Petoskey. And I've got a lot of ideas how to do this. And we have all these lakes here in Hillsdale, and basically we can have people to rent their cottages. We can have association that people come here and rent a cottage for a week or a month or whatever during the summer. So the potential's there. If we, we can go take it much further than this, but my 3 minutes are pretty much up, but I'd like to sit down maybe with a bunch of you guys and just basically talk business together on this thing. So think about, Mayor, let's get together with Myers. And so we can get an ice cream plant in here, be gold.
Thank you, Chief.
Hire about 500 people.
Thank you, John. He's not joking. He's been on my butt for 2 years about it, so. Don't have any contacts at Myers at all. Any further public comment? Podium's still open. Evening, Robert Eichler, Scipio Township. I got fairly concerned coming into town on my bike. I rode my 10-speed from home, taking the back route. I wanted to observe one was the bike trail, and the trails back where some of the homeless are at. And you really can't see a lot when you're just driving by. I got concerned with it, and I had to find out a little bit more. And through the little bit of travels, there's sidewalk and road. You guys really have some really bad roads. You might as well get a Hummer and put down there. It's go down here by Bob Evans. I come down Millens Road the back way, and wow, the sidewalk, all the tree limbs. You can't go down the road. Well, the sidewalk's there. The sidewalk is in and out, and I watch out for the tree limbs. Something is odd that you guys have such a good city that some of that maintenance need to be looked at. The other is, I guess I'm a little concerned down the pipeline that the governor has now issued another $80,000 or $80 billion towards infrastructure. I hope you'd be very, very concerned with what that means. The borrowing of new monies means new tax dollars to be paid back. The ARPA money was designed the same way, and we're paying a lot more in tax to pay that back. This Biden issue is, putting this country in debt. Finding that, China has pretty much foreclosed on 7 other countries that they put money into infrastructure, and this is slowly taking us as well. I just hope that you will pay attention and maybe not take this money and tell the governor, you know, wherever to put it. Anyway, have a good evening. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Any more public comment? Seeing none, we'll close the podium. Moving to the city manager's report. David.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few things I want to mention. So it looks like our social district is going to launch this Friday, so August 11th. Our first social district business is the brewery that will be open for selling their drinks, and then we have a couple more applications in, but they are looking at starting this Friday. Also, we are working with the Mitchell Research. Go ahead.
I thought I saw some people walking around last Saturday with drinks, but it didn't start yet.
No, it did not start. I did see a post from the Dawn that had a similar looking cup that somebody was holding, but that program hasn't started yet. Let's see. Again, we're working with the Mitchell Research Center group and looking at a potential grant for community building space. Hoping that we can get an application for that, for a grant to help renovate the Mitchell Research Building. We know that we've got at least $150,000 worth of work that needs to be done over there, from the outside to the inside to the basement. So we're working with them to try to put together an area for a grant application. The BPU board, this is just a report on the pay situation. After reviewing, the previous minutes, having a legal opinion done on that, we will be paying them as employees to meet the language of the statute. We're deciding on whether that will be, how that will be done, whether it be biannual or annual, but what it looks like is, as council previously specified, is $25 per meeting that we'll stick with. We just want to make it, when we cut a check, large enough that the taxes are somewhat substantial, because the IRS has a problem with small checks being cut. In fact, we had this issue with our election workers, that they work once or twice a year, and then the checks aren't very large, so the IRS actually we had to correct stuff for the IRS because they didn't want it done that way. So we're working on that. Actually, the board is meeting tomorrow night to finalize that, so I'll report on that at the next meeting. The BPU board is also working, as well as myself and Jake Hamill, the electric superintendent, on a strategic plan for the electric department, with a consultant that we've been working with. So that will come out later this fall. So we'll bring that to council once it's done. Last things are primarily in the rec department. So this will be the last weekend for Sandy Beach, because all the workers are going back to school after this weekend, for the most part. So this will be our final weekend. Football registration is open. So if you know of anyone that has children that are interested in playing football, please steer them to our Facebook and or websites. And coach, pitch, and t-ball, we had 240 kids in those activities for this summer, which is pretty strong. It is definitely snapping back from COVID time. On September 8th and 10th, the Indiana outboard races will be returning to Bobby's Lake. They were gone for a a couple years, but we'll be coming back this year, and Michelle says they're pretty excited to come back and do their races, and they are pretty good to work with, so we haven't had a bad experience with them. Additionally, on September 12th, the Hillsdale High School will be hosting an 11-city cross-country run at Old Memorial Park. Let's see, that's August 30th, and League Jamboree will be September 12th, but August 30th is the 11-city cross-country invite. And then the last thing we have going on there is September 23rd, which is the Sean's 5K walk and run for cancer, and all proceeds for that will be going to the Henry Ford Cancer Center. So we have a lot of things going on in the recreation side and across the city. So if there are any questions, I'll be happy to take them.
Thank you, Dave. Any questions for Dave? All right, thanks, Dave. Council comment? Anybody have anything interesting? Councilman Salah?
In addition to all those, the Hillsdale Rotary Club is having a raffle this Saturday at Bobby's. I think it's at 10 a.m. To help raise money for the new workout park we're going to do just over here.
Awesome. Anything else, Councilman Sharp?
To the gentleman with the ice cream thing, Petoskey has this thing called Lake Michigan right next to it. And I go up north all the time. I'm up in Traverse City, Petoskey, Charlevoix, all those areas. And Lake Michigan does attract people. We don't quite have Lake Michigan here, but we do have people coming from Ohio still have cottages out there by the lake. So it is interesting when he talks about the ice cream with Myers. I'd be interested in hearing about it too. Thank you, sir.
Can I say something?
Any more council comment?
I have just one, Sam's been working, and Dave Mackey's here, has been working on this grant proposal for the Mitchell Research Library, and it's very exciting. It would provide up to it would provide at least $150,000 in repairs, and so I'm very excited about that. We've met with Carol Lackey and some of the people from the Mitchell Library. And anyway, I just want to thank Sam and David for working on this.
Yeah, great stuff, guys. Anybody else? Anything interesting? Motion to adjourn?
Support.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Sharp, seconded by Councilman Soha to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Meeting's adjourned.